Warning. The following podcast is not your friend. It's your best friend. This is Crudimentary Questions with your hosts, Sandy and Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Hey, Sandy.
Guess what?
What?
I actually have a question for you today.
Awesome. Do it.
And it's pretty basic, I would say, but, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
Do I believe in an afterlife? Okay, so I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
But only because it makes death easier.
I think that's pretty standard.
Okay.
The function of the afterlife seems to be a way to soften the idea of death because it's so final otherwise.
Right. And I grew up learning about death with Disney movies.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of Bambi's mom being in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can define heaven for you. I have ideas of what I hope it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe this is how it is.
For sure.
Everybody else is wrong. This is how it is.
But okay, so tell me what's your heaven? What's your heaven like? And in afterlife, by the way, you mentioned heaven, but there's another side to the afterlife, which we will get into.
Oh, yes.
I am sure.
Oh, I am sure.
We're gonna talk about motherfucking hell. But let's start nice. What's your heaven?
Let's start pleasant. Heaven, I feel like logically, like if we want to talk about maybe just energy,
Okay.
science, maybe the soul could be construed as an energy source.
Yeah.
Maybe we become just this ball of light or some sort of particles,
Okay.
matter, atoms, I don't know. And we just dissolve into the universe and we become part of nature or part of space or...
So we don't, like, your personality isn't intact. Because what you're describing is actually what happens when you die.
Mm-hmm.
Or what could potentially happen is that your body could be put into the earth and then would help fuel flowers and grass and soil that would then get eaten by Bambi and his mom,
It's like what Mufasa says to Simba.
It's a circle of life.
When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelopes eat the grass.
The inflection. God, Mufasa is just he's the best dad.
He's the best dad. And going back to particles, like he says, look up at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
The great kings of the past are looking down on us from those stars.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It gives me chills. I have chills.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Well, it's when you think about, we are not stoned right now, but this is a very stoner sort of thought process.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
The circle of life is a beautiful thing in that, like, you've heard the whole we're made of stars thing, like, the kings are looking down on us, whatever, but all the things that make us beings, they believe it probably came from, like, meteorites that already had pieces of, or the building blocks of life on them. When they hit the earth, that's what started the evolutionary process.
The primordial ooze.
The soup.
The soup.
That sweet, delicious, it's probably savory soup.
Salty.
It was salty,
It's got salt in there.
It'd be like a nice Italian wedding soup.
I think it would be like a nice bisque.
Oh,
Like a lobster bisque.
Okay. Well, yeah, because they can't, and then they made
It's from the sea.
From the sea, yeah.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. So all of that.
I'm really hungry now.
Do you want some? I brought a bag of peanuts.
Awesome.
To the podcast today. Would you like some peanuts?
No, I can only think of lobster bisque right now.
Part of your heaven.
We're going to be going to a Red Lobster after this.
Yeah. So, I mean, once we get past all this, like, totally, like, astral, like, circle of life, beautiful, which I think is honestly, that's how I view the afterlife, because I don't view it as heaven is not a physical place, hell is not a physical place. They're not metaphysical places either. I don't believe they exist at all. But I do believe the truth, which is that when you die, your body becomes a part of the earth.
Right.
And in that way, I mean, it's not like you don't have eyes anymore and you can't see and you're not going to be conscious of it, but like, it's good to think. It makes me happy to think that the things that make up my body can be used to help the rest of humanity in, this small way that we can, or that nature provides us. But
Yeah.
to be totally like silly about it,
Yes.
if heaven was a physical, like a place that your personality and who you are shows up in after you die, like
Yes.
you die in the white light, you're like towards the white light, and you get there, and I don't know if it's like St. Peter there or actually God, but it is a happy place, and it's like the best thing, like your personal fantasy.
So this is kind of like that movie. Well, isn't there a movie with Robin Williams where it's like What Dreams May Come or something? There's a movie where he goes to heaven. It's all different kinds of heaven or something.
It's What Dreams May Come, and he goes into his wife's paintings because do you want me to tell you the plot of the movie, because I remember it?
No, but I guess what I'm saying is there's an idea that heaven is personal to each person.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so, well, mine would be, this is difficult because eternity sounds exhausting to me.
It does.
I could like give you one of my favorite experiences, but would I actually want to have that for the rest of my life? I don't know. Honestly, I would be more into reincarnation. Like, let's try this again. Can I be different?
Yeah.
Next time. Could I be like, I don't know, an NBA player when I come back?
That would be awesome.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I really like that. Well, I mean, and of course, this is totally burnturing the actual idea of reincarnation.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because
Absolutely.
it's not like the Matrix where Cypher, when he, turncoats, he turns on everyone and he wants the machines to send him back as somebody important, like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You don't get to like decide.
Yeah.
That would be so awesome though if you did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and for a while when I was little, I was convinced that if I got to go to heaven, or if I died and got to go to heaven, which, by the way, I thought about a lot because of Disney, but also I had a poem like cross-stitched and framed in my childhood bedroom.
We all had something like that.
And it was the prayer that you say before bedtime.
Okay.
It was, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
And if I die before I awake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Yeah.
That is creepy as fuck.
It's
by the
so
way.
creepy, and it really scared me that I might die
In
every
your
night.
sleep, every night.
In my sleep. Very, very scary. So every night I'd be like, okay, if I do die tonight, God, can you bring me back as a fox?
That's right.
I want to be a fox.
Yeah. You not realizing you're basically asking God to have you like dig through trash cans in your next life?
Now I know that foxes do not live happy Disney movie lives necessarily, although happy Disney, debatable.
Yeah, seriously. Nobody's safe in the first 10 minutes of a Disney movie is like, who's biting it?
If you love your parents, we're so sorry.
Yeah.
Walt Disney will kill them.
Yeah, Walt Disney is, the Lord's the soul snatcher, and Walt Disney just like kills your dad. Fuck you, Disney. Man.
So yeah, I want to bring that question back to you,
Sure.
though. Say you believe in a heaven, what would yours be like?
Well, I was trying, by the way, to get you to say ridiculous, silly things like I want to eat red lobster for the rest of my life.
But I don't.
But I know. But instead, you have like a nuanced and thoughtful and like really great answer, and I'm like, Jill be dumb.
She'll be dumb. She'll be dumb. The problem is I get tired of things so fast.
Yeah.
I once ate way too many dill pickles
Oh yeah,
and threw them up.
yeah, and that's it.
And then that's it for dill pickles.
Yeah, you had all you need.
I had it all.
So yeah, get to your question. So I especially when I was getting into Bible college, people were starting to say that heaven was, and this is a verse in Revelations that describes this, that heaven is, we spend eternity worshiping the Lord. And so they would tell us at like our chapel, our meetings, our classes in Bible college, they would be like, when we'd be having like a worship time, they'd be like, can't you guys, it's going to be so great in heaven where we just get to do this forever. And I would sit there and be like, I hate worship services. I hated them.
That sounds
I really
not fun.
Yeah, I really hate them now, but I hated them then, and I was devout, and I was a worship leader. But anyway, the point was that I was told that we were going to worship God forever, and I was like, I'd like to opt out of that.
I would like a rewrite of what heaven is.
Yeah.
Please.
Like I was like, Lord, can we talk about this? Because I don't want to do that. And I'm just having the same thought that you had, which is that I don't want to do the same thing forever. Mm-hmm. Like that, no matter what it is, forever just sounds boring.
It just, and I don't want to necessarily keep my, your soul. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that look like in an afterlife? Yeah. I'd be fine with just a little ball of light, mm-hmm. a little, like, cheery little thing.
Yeah. Maybe get some eyelashes.
Yeah. A little eyelash.
You just kind of float around. But, I mean, that's a question, too, because I remember talking to, this is particularly a question that the ladies had. If they were overweight, they'd be like, do I get to be skinny in heaven? And then you're like, well, why does physical appearance matter in heaven?
Do you shit in heaven?
Yeah.
I mean, does it matter? Like, no.
And it started to become very clear that you don't have sex in heaven. And that pissed a lot of people off.
But without the body and the body's needs, you don't need to poop or orgasm.
I get it. And so we were eventually told that, like, you guys can't think of heaven like you think about earth. It's going to be this whole different thing, which, whatever, if you're going to believe in that, I suppose is valid. I'm just saying the Bible is not super clear on what it actually is, and its descriptions sound like cold, like impossible, and really dull.
Really dull. And I could understand, you becoming an angel or a ghost or something like that. Mm-hmm. You get wings. You get promoted.
You get promoted.
Then it just sounds like a job.
Yeah. You were human and now you're something else. And I'd like to point out theologically that angels are not souls that came from earth. Angels are their own thing.
You don't become an angel?
No, you do not.
Well, then how did John Travolta become an angel in Michael?
He started as an angel.
Oh, he started.
Yeah.
How are angels born?
God created them when he created everything else, but they are separate entities than humans.
So he's like angel.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And demons are fallen angels when they had the revolt, and Lucifer revolted against God. And
yes, and Satan is a fallen angel.
Satan, Lucifer he was like the most beautiful angel too, by the way.
The most beautiful.
Yeah. The more I read about the character in Christian scripture of Lucifer / Satan,
the more you want to date him,
the more I want to at least get a beer with him. You want
to swipe left on
I'd
Satan.
totally swipe left on Lucifer. He'd be, because he's like, I used to have this really great position with this really powerful company, but then I had to, I got ideas that the owner didn't like, so I had to leave to find myself, and now I travel the world surfing or something. He's like one of those people who like got burned out at Google and now just like has an Instagram account.
I mean, to be fair, hell kind of sounds like a party, I mean, yes, people get hurt.
Just a little light torture.
Yeah, and there might be some, some sex involved some places. People, debauchery, of course.
Yeah.
It's loud.
Yeah.
It's hot. It just sounds like a really, like, I don't know, cliche high school party.
Yeah. Well, the way I was told, hell was a torture chamber. And there's no light, and there was no they call it like outer darkness, like forever dark, and also the idea of your soul being separated forever from God is also torture.
Yeah, so how do they torture your body if you don't have it in hell? So you have your body still, which would be torture, I guess, to have your body still.
It's the way it is essentially described in the scriptures talked about it being weeping and gnashing of teeth. So that, like,
I do that every night.
I know. It's just regular. It's just normal. Oh my God.
That's my...
But the way I was taught was, because I had these questions too. And it was like, trust me, it's going to be bad. That's what pastors would say. They're like, just trust me. It's good. You're not going to like it.
In the way that heaven was to comfort you for death, hell is the way to control your life. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it was definitely used. I mean, it's a tool of fear. I mean, essentially the theology I was taught from age 0 to 23 was to be very, very afraid of not following certain rules, and not believing certain things the correct way, and the penalty, this is in Romans, the wages of sin is death, is what they'd say. And death would be, and I haven't studied Greek in so long, so I can't like talk about the original language, but death being like an eternal death, not just one, not just the physical body dying, but the soul being cast out away from God. This is such a bummer to talk about.
Oh, no, I like it.
You like it? Because I've also heard the whole, like, well, hell sounds like a party because all the cool people go there. And I get that, but I'm like, yeah, that's if you're referring to Christian theology, then it's not.
It's not.
I would like to briefly discuss the silly aspect of
Afterlife.
Just in terms of, like, what I would used to fantasize about when I did believe in some form of heaven.
Yes, let's get into that.
When I believed in heaven, I really, really wanted there to be food. And for a couple reasons.
We've talked about food quite a bit in this episode so far, and I love it. Let's continue down this path.
So I am, allergic to a ton of stuff. And one of the unfortunate things about the nature of my allergies is there are certain cultures where I'm allergic to seafood is one of them.
You can't have that lobster bisque.
I can't have the lobster bisque from the primordial.
Red Lobster will kill you, Sandy.
I believe I could have the cheddar biscuits. Is that a thing they have? I believe I could have those. But I'm like, I don't think Red Lobster has like a token chicken dish on it. I think they're all seafood all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I gotta say, we are not, oh God, it'd be great if we were sponsored by Red Lobster, but those,
oh my God,
those commercials make me so sad because that lobster just dipped in butter.
And then they just like break it apart and all the juices fly everywhere.
It looks so good. And it makes my throat close up. So, me not being able to eat a lot of food it limits like travel, because there are certain places where like they only eat fish or almost exclusively eat fish or put fish in everything, and there's a language barrier, and I would have to be like, I can't have that.
So your heaven would be traveling and eating?
My heaven would be being able to eat a bunch of stuff that I was allergic to. Mm-hmm. My heaven would be eating lobster, like dipping it in the butter. Or even just, there's so much like gourmet food that uses things that I'm allergic to. I'm also allergic to tree nuts. And people will just sneak like even almond oil into things and not tell you. So I have to read every ingredient of every package. I basically don't eat baked goods unless I personally made them, because people will just use almond flour and not put it in the ingredients.
I remember that time you ate that veggie burger that had walnuts in it, and you didn't have an EpiPen, and you had to get rushed to the ER.
I went to the
for
ER.
a veggie burger.
For a veggie burger because it had walnuts in it. And
Are you sure we're not in hell?
I swear. That would be so nice if this was hell, because it's really not that bad. And then like heaven's just a version where like, yeah, you just don't stub your toes anymore. And I don't have eczema and I can eat, because that's what I thought. I was like, there are things on earth that like I'm so limited, and it would be great if I could eat whatever I wanted. There's another element to the food thing, and it was that I've struggled my entire life with body image issues, and I was chubby for a while, and then I got super skinny, and then I got a little chubby again, and I'm in the process of.
Oh, you look great.
Oh, thank you. No, I do.
Great.
I've been working out like a motherfucker, and I
I can tell.
Thank you. I every time we do the podcast, I show Jill my muscles.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a pose off.
We flex. It's really stupid.
I flex my flab and she flexes her pecs.
No, I don't have. God. Anyway, so I wanted to eat whatever I wanted to eat whatever I wanted and not get fat. That was what I wanted, like, more than to worship God. You know, I didn't even want to be close to God. There was a part of me that was like, yeah, I'm close enough to him on earth. Just please don't let me be fat.
But then this leads to the idea that you have to poop in heaven. Like, how do you get rid of the food?
Well, it is.
And then wiping your butt. Like, that sounds like a chore.
Ultimately, heaven to me sounds like a fantasy. It sounds like a fantasy world where you don't ask those questions because they just get in the way of what you're enjoying, you know?
So indulging is part of your indulging and stuff.
Man, I'm realizing now, like, I wasn't that great at Christian, even when I was a really good Christian, because I really did. I was just like, I want to masturbate all the time and not get in trouble for it, or have sex and not get in trouble for it. And I want to eat a bunch of food. And I had a thought the last time. This is the most recent time I've actually thought about what if heaven was real. I was with some people taking magic mushrooms, and Jill was present, but was not on magic mushrooms. And anyway, I was in the giggle phase, the blissful giggle.
Is this with the blanket?
Yeah, this involves the blanket, yes. But
we've told this story before on a previous episode.
Yeah.
Hashtag spoiler.
But I had a thought that if heaven was like this, like being on magic mushrooms all the time, I think I could do that forever.
That makes sense. When I was little, I wrote a story about what I thought heaven might be like. And that was the twist of the end of the story, is that this girl ran away from home and she stumbled upon this like magical land.
Okay.
And thought she had, found paradise and was going to try and go back home to tell her family, but couldn't because she was actually dead. And this was heaven.
Wow. That's kind of
dark
and dark.
But the way that I described everything, because she stumbled, like, it was kind of like Secret Garden, where she's like going through like a rose bush or something, and finds this beautiful meadow, and in the middle it's like sunlit and flowers and butterflies, and she's got this. All of a sudden, she's got this beautiful white dress on.
Yeah,
and she's just,
sounds great,
running around and singing and. There's a unicorn involved at some point. Of course. She talks with the unicorn. It's beautiful. And
I mean, that's another way people think about it.
It was my 9-year-old pipe dream.
Yeah.
Of heaven.
That's ultimately it. I think what I think we're realizing is that heaven is, for each person, is just like, it's this idealized version of existence. And it comforts, it can be comforting, but it can also be frustrating if you actually start to think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should think about something to ask the internet. And I'm sure there's a lot of opinions online about what the afterlife is. I don't want to go down the road of being like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Yeah.
So let's go through what Yahoo Answers might have to say.
As always.
And just yes and everything.
Absolutely.
Let's just have a yes and for party fest with the internet.
For whatever user boner69 says, we'll be like, that's your heaven, bro. I'm into it.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll be right back. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. And now we really need you to spread the word about this podcast.
Yeah, spread it. Word of mouth is so important.
Insert oral sex joke.
Insert.
But for real, tell all your friends about the podcast and we can be a big, happy podcast family.
That is right. Now, send them to crudimentary questions.com for all of your oral sex. For all of your podcast listening needs.
Back to the show.
All right, we're back.
Hey.
Let's talk about death, baby. Let's talk about heaven and hell.
My God. I mean, it still would have worked with let's talk about you and me and where we're gonna end up in the afterlife.
Oh, let's talk about death.
Death.
Let's talk about
death.
death. All right, so we're gonna dive right in.
What does the Oracle of Yahoo Answers have to say?
Philosophy ... Afterlife ! Exclamation point times 5 question mark.
Is this a question?
And then below that, is there any credible evidence of an afterlife?
Okay. All right. We didn't even talk about that.
Gloves off, baby.
Gloves off.
Okay, so best answer is I do not believe that there is any credible, testable evidence of an afterlife. However, I think the near universal belief of an afterlife we find in every major religion and most structured paths of spirituality is an interesting statement to the potential existence of an afterlife.
That's saying because a lot of people think so, it's true, which is a fallacy.
Yeah. For all the diversity found throughout the world's people, there is in almost every culture a description of what happens to us after death. You know, it's like the afterlife is going viral, so it's probably something.
Yeah. It's seriously, it's fake news. It's fake news. If you repeat it enough, you can't distinguish it between like true or false. But I think that person does make a compelling point.
Yes.
I don't think it's like I don't think it's evidence so much. So
He just says it's an interesting statement,
Sure.
not evidence.
Because yes, most religions and cultures have some kind of explanation for what happens to us after we die, but that's more about human nature than it is about whether or not it actually exists, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course you're gonna want to hold on to something because human beings love each other, you know, and we care for each other, and when especially a loved one dies, we mourn and also memorialize them oftentimes, you know? Like, why do we do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't matter to them whether they have flowers on their grave or not, but it's something we're compelled to do.
Right. I mean, with belief and sometimes logic isn't necessary. It's just you believe it. You feel it. It's in your gut. It's in your heart. It's in your being. So I think, you know, my mom had a book that she read that was about near-death experiences.
Okay.
And, you know, people walk to the tunnel at the end and there's a light. And
Yeah.
that has been thought of as maybe proof of an afterlife because they died on the table in the hospital.
Yeah, but everybody...
And then they saw something and they came back and they could report it.
Yeah,
you know?
but everybody... I love how in the stories everybody walks toward the light. It's like nobody's on their way to hell, you know? Like...
Right. It's all... But that's a compelling idea is that everyone has the same...
Yeah, but maybe
visions.
That's the experience of dying. Like, we don't know what the experience of dying is until we die.
Right.
But then these near-death experience people, they have that experience, and maybe that's just what happens to everybody. And...
Well, maybe the tunnel is purgatory, and the light could be hellfire or heaven's pearly ass gates just waiting for you.
That would suck. That would be the worst prank ever. If there's like the devil just like makes the fire like all like
cozy,
like looks so nice, and you're like going down the tunnel towards the light, and you're like, I made it. I get to go to heaven. Oh no!
Oh no!
That was just a white hot fire.
Yeah.
And then he starts poking
This
you
is a
with one
pit.
of those.
It's not a
stoker
tunnel.
sticks.
It's a pit to your death and darkness.
You know, if the devil is really what you know, I was raised to believe, he would definitely do that. He would totally trick you into thinking you're going to heaven.
Yeah. All right. So more interneting. I have another good question on here. Is death scarier for those who believe in an afterlife or for those who think there's nothing afterward? Interesting.
Is there an answer given? Because
There's a lot.
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Because I've thought about this a lot because I've done both.
Yeah, you have.
And I can't. The truth is, there being nothing
Is less scary.
I would say it's less scary than eternal torture, but it is still scary.
Okay, I want to just... Here's a good sound bite, you guys. Sandy just said, I think it's less scary than eternal torture. Yeah, I think nothing would be like less scary than that. Absolutely.
Well, nothing would be scarier. But the thought of being nothing again, in terms of my body goes into the earth and I feed the earth, right? That's wonderful and beautiful to think about. But like my consciousness being gone forever, it scares me, but it also it bothers me in a very, I think it's kind of a narcissistic way, you know, like I don't really like the thought of not existing anymore. However, I think it's important to note that every person before they were born, they don't know what that was like because they didn't exist yet.
I was going to say that. I was like, yeah, we're talking about afterlife, but there's also the opposite of that, before birth. What's that like?
I have no idea.
Is there like a baby farm just waiting like to pump them out, or
well, yeah, it's your like whatever you understand your soul to be, or your consciousness, or whatever. You didn't miss it when you didn't have it.
That's why I'm really a fan of the idea of reincarnation.
Yeah,
I like the idea that maybe our souls are progressing. You know, maybe you started out as like a little amoeba on a tree, and then you became like a blade of grass, and then you became a squirrel, and then you became, I don't know,
I would be a dinosaur.
A dinosaur.
Yeah, at one point I was totally a dinosaur.
Yes. And you know, you work your way up to a higher level of consciousness. Eventually, just you become, I don't know,
human. And then what if we can reincarnate into like AI?
Ooh.
Like,
that's like the movie Transcendence.
I feel like it's been done narratively many times, but the film Transcendence does star Johnny Depp attempting to look much younger than he actually is,
and he becomes kind of a consciousness inside of a robot.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's more complicated than that. But
I never actually saw it. I'm deducing this from the trailer and some of the bad reviews that it got.
Cool.
Anyway, this person says, I imagine that going to hell must be a scary concept to those who do believe in an afterlife, but most people probably convince themselves they're going to heaven. I personally don't believe in afterlife, but I wish I could believe in reincarnation. It would be better than just nothingness. Kind of exactly what we just put down, right?
Yeah,
in a more succinct way. Thank you, Yahoo user.
It's one of those where it's just a
Michael.
Oh, well, Michael has wisdom there. I appreciate Michael. I like how this is like.
Whoa! Is it Michael from the movie? Michael?
It's not Michael from the movie. Michael.
Oh my God! John Travolta is an
not
angel.
John Travolta from the movie Michael. John Travolta is not answering Yahoo Answers questions. Yeah, wouldn't that be great if he did, but as the character Michael?
Yeah, and not as a Scientologist, because do they believe in an afterlife? Ooh, I don't know. Ooh, internet. I just got really excited. It's like, I don't know something. I have the computer in front of me.
You just realized that you're the power of the device in front of you. Like, you never thought about it before. That's great. No, but that's a good question. Because why do we talk so much about Scientology? It's really weird. It comes up a lot.
It does. It really does. Okay. What do scientists believe about the afterlife?
Scientologists.
Yeah. What did I say? Scientists?
Just scientists. Like, I don't know. That's actually another good question. I'm sure they have a variety of beliefs.
All right, best answer. Unless you have a couple of million in your bank account and they let you into their hallowed portals, you'll never really know. It seems that they are into reincarnation after death, but no reincarnated ones have stepped forward as of yet. So they do have a quote regarding Xenu. This hogwash is not explained to Scientology adherents until they reach a level of OT 111 or operating Thetan 111.
Yes.
Most of the Scientologists who work in the Dianetics Center or in so-called churches of Scientology do not know this story, since they are not allowed to hear it until they reach the secret upper levels of Scientology.
Yeah, but a bunch of people who have reached those upper levels have defected and are now like speaking out against Scientology. So wouldn't they know?
Well, it may take them many years before they reach this level, and if they ever do, the ones who do know it are forced to keep it a secret and not tell it to those people who are joining Scientology. I will insert for fear of death.
Oh,
no,
yes.
I'm just kidding.
Or you die.
Like, what's keeping them from?
Oh, I mean, they get like
spanked.
Actually, if you watch, there's a Scientology documentary where they talk about the getting hit. Yeah, they get smacked around by their leaders if they don't obey.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, sounds super fun. Definitely, yeah. I want to join that religion for sure.
Yeah,
But-
so I'm getting kind of a gist from everything. They're kind of reincarnation.
Okay. So, does
Secrets out.
stickers? Sorry, guys. Sorry, they're gonna come after us now. So what is any more Yahoo answer wisdom from the original question?
Oh, you mean the philosophy one? The one where it was like credible evidence of afterlife?
No,
or
just
is death scarier?
oh, death scarier. Yeah,
You want that one?
yeah. Because you said there were a lot of answers.
Yeah. This death is not scary at all. Now dying can be unpleasant and scary for everyone. This one person said.
Okay, well that's headline of the year right there.
Okay, so my favorite answer is by Yahoo Answer. Bruno, I don't care one way or another. I just live my life.
Wow, Bruno, real personality
Just
there.
living his life.
I mean,
love
that's ultimately all you can do, and I suppose you can spend, which is what people do.
People study it.
People study it, and they obsess and they think about it a ton, and it really does. This question shapes so much behavior, and I wish we could all just like live our lives, but I mean, it's like I was talking about earlier. Like fear is such a powerful motivator. So if someone is afraid of the eternal torture chamber, they're not gonna do something that whatever their scripture believes, tells them not to do. They don't want to do that,
Right.
which is why like gay people were, just not living their lives like
Oh, because they were afraid?
yeah. I mean, and not like that's not to open a can of worms, but it's just like previous to, the gay rights, revolution we've seen in our lifetime. I mean, people were just closeted, and because
So sad.
particularly like evangelical Christianity just has such a hold, in Catholicism, I suppose. It's just, yeah, religion's just having a hold on people who
Or
are
even non-religious persons were against.
Oh, that's true.
Against it. It
That's
doesn't.
true.
It's not necessarily a religious issue. It's just people were, I don't know, ignorant to the idea that love is transcendent of all genders or
True.
sexual preferences.
But also, I will say that even people who wouldn't like necessarily go to church or something still perhaps at certain times would believe in heaven or hell, and so it's like that's a religious belief that permeates the secular culture, and that's why people ask these questions, and that's why like I respect Bruno being like, I just want to live my life.
Yeah.
Because if I don't just live my life, I am going to think about dying all the time, and I'm going to think about what happens.
It's funny though, because the fear can control you. The fear of hell can control you, and actually make you a worse person sometimes. Because you look at the world so black and white, heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's purgatory. That's gray. It sounds boring too. I don't know. I think that my personal ideas, I try to just be open to all the possibilities.
Yeah, totally.
I like that I don't know. I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know.
Well, and if you had a very set understanding of it, how would that change your behavior?
Yeah, I mean, it would.
Yeah,
It absolutely would.
I was recently told by a person who is supposed to love me, who claims to love me. I was told that I was going to hell, and it was a threat, and it was like I have to change, or, he was like, what if you get in a car accident on the way home? You're gonna find yourself in a place and you're not gonna like it, and
By a cozy fire with a handsome angel.
with hot Lucifer. That's how I should have responded. I should have been like, man, I swiped right on Lucifer.
Having orgies and...
Oh my God. It would be great. If hell really was all the stuff that the Bible says you're not supposed to do, it would be pretty cool.
Smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not entirely true, because the Bible does tell you to do some, or tells you not to do some legitimately terrible things, right? So it tells you not to murder, right? So I don't want that going on in hell. But yeah.
You know why I don't want to murder? It's not because of hell.
I
I'll tell you that.
I know.
Because I don't want to commit sins for fear of what is the word?
You don't want to avoid things that are considered sin because you're afraid of the retribution.
Yeah, I'm not being controlled by fear of being punished.
Yeah.
But necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just I just want to be a good person.
Yeah.
To contribute to a society and be in a good society.
Yeah, you're part of a society.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to kill people because I don't want to kill people.
I don't want to be killed either.
Yeah.
So why would I threaten someone when I don't treat people the way you want to be treated?
Totally.
I don't want to be killed.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not going to kill anyone.
Yeah. Not into that. Not into that at all. And I try to treat others the way I'd like to be treated for the most part. There are definitely times when I fail miserably at that. But at that point, I also have sorrow when I know I've hurt somebody. And that's just empathy. And I don't need a fear of hell to try to be a good person. I think most people would agree to that. But ultimately, I still, this day and age, had somebody threaten me with it, and say, I, had to basically adhere to his very specific set of beliefs or else.
Right, and that's another thing that I'm not cool with. Mm-hmm. I like to respect it, but I want him to believe whatever he wants.
Sure, I'm not gonna. Yeah,
just let everybody believe, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just like, what would I go around threatening people with if I was going to threaten, use my beliefs as some kind of weapon against them? It'd be like, you better be a good person or nothing's gonna happen.
You don't really have a leg to stand on, Sandy.
Yeah. I'm like, it's not super convincing to tell people do good or do bad. You're just gonna turn into manure when you die anyway. But honestly, it's easier to be good on Earth for the most part.
It's just easier to be a good person
than it is to be bad.
And I'm really into the idea of coming back as something to the point where in my will. I don't want to be buried in a coffin.
Yeah.
I don't want to be cremated either.
No.
Not against either one for anybody else,
yeah.
But personally, I would like to be planted with a tree. Mm-hmm. Which I guess they might still have to cremate your body to do that.
I mean, I think they have
which I'm fine with.
Places where you can. Yeah, I would say.
I just don't want to be in a jar.
I don't want to. I know it won't matter, but no. I do like the idea of my body either being like fertilizer. Yeah. To help things grow, or to be donated to science and help people learn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am an organ donor. Yeah. So I guess I get some of that. I get some of that action, Sandy.
Yeah, so you got your. That's great. You're just trying to score good person points after you're dead.
Yeah.
That's how good a person you are.
I mean, I looked into being mummified. That was another option.
Oh my!
Could a pyramid be built over my body? No, that.
you can have a sarcophagus, a pretty impressive sarcophagus built in a graveyard.
Just because I just want to come back to reincarnation, mm-hmm. and I think Egyptians believed that, and didn't they? Yeah. Have a reincarnation thing?
No, they believe in they had definitely had a whole
they had the underworld.
Yeah, they had trip. Oh God, we don't know anything. I need to read more books.
Well, the internet says, can anyone give me a summary of the beliefs of the afterlife for the ancient Egyptians? And someone put in a novel.
Oh, good.
Referring to the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom.
Oh, right.
I don't know. I don't know anything, but I do know that they would bury their dead with stuff to take with them.
They definitely believed in an afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So they had to have, their pets got mummified too. And they did. I saw at the Natural History Museum, I saw several mummified cats. Fascinating.
Whoa.
But this is, obviously this is a thing that humanity has been wrestling with to some extent for I think since the dawn of time, and we've made no progress at all on whether or not it's true. So what are you going to do? So I think yes.
One more thing before we got time. One more thing before we go to the next section. This person does talk about afterlife, and it's pretty cool.
Okay.
We'll be fine. First, purgatory, hell, and heaven are just ways to describe 3 different states of the soul.
Okay.
The state of the hate and of love. So hell and heaven are not places, they're states of the soul.
Okay.
And when you die, you don't go anywhere. You just go inside your soul. So if your soul is full of hatred and evil, you will be cast in a prison of hate for all eternity. Let's call that hell.
Okay.
And if your soul is full of love, you'll be in that love forever. We'll call it heaven.
Yeah.
It's not God who saves us. It's us who decides to love or to hate, to do good deeds or to do mean deeds. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
whoa.
That's a...
Sorry, there's a squirrel outside. Squirrel!
You just acted like a dog. That was very dog-like of you just now. Yeah, that's a really wonderful way to I think that's what we've been saying to some extent, but I didn't think about going inside your soul. That's a nice way to put it. I get a little frustrated with stuff like that because it also just sounds a little like woo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
a little new agey?
Yeah, a little new agey, and just sort of like words that comfort you but don't mean anything.
Sure.
But
it is a good inspirational quote.
But no matter what, if you live your life feel like motivated by hatred and fear, yeah, that's a hellish way to live.
Yeah.
If you live your life motivated by love and openness and not being afraid of other people's thoughts and opinions, then yeah, that's going to be a much more pleasant, heavenly way to live.
It would make more sense for you to die and go into your own soul, and that would be your personal hell or heaven.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like. We'll see. We're going to ask a guy now.
Yeah.
This is a heavy topic.
Let's get heavy with a dude.
Yeah, and we're asking one of our guy friends, and he is currently at a chess tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of find that it's a perfect environment to talk about the afterlife.
Yes, indeed.
Black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Going. In a brain battle with each other. right?
Yes.
Makes sense.
Let's have a brain battle with a guy.
Okay.
All right. We'll be right back.
Ask a guy, we need a man's opinion, so we'll ask a guy.
Zach here.
Hello, Zach.
Hello, Zach.
Hi, is this Jill and Sandy?
Yes. Welcome to Crudimentary Questions.
What a pleasant surprise. What can I do for you today?
So, we have told our listeners that you're at a chess tournament right now?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
How's it going?
Who's winning?
Good. There's 3,000 kids here. So a lot of winners, a lot of losers, a lot of games.
That's wonderful. Well, so we've got something to entertain you today. The question today is, what do you believe in do you believe in the afterlife, and what do you think it is?
Oh, this is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I take that back. I mean, I guess here's why I say this is tricky. I was thinking about something similar to this earlier today or yesterday. I was thinking about because I'm Orthodox. I'm Eastern Orthodox Christian.
I'm glad you said that. Good reference.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean that informs the answer to this and almost any other question you could ask me. So, but this one in particular. But I was thinking about what was the situation? I was thinking about whether something was being asked a question about whether something was enough, like whether belief in something was enough, and getting into a conversation like that. And that's the kind of conversation that Orthodox, you sort of can get trapped in. That's a Western sort of way of thinking. And for Orthodox, we kind of get trapped into thinking, well, yeah, I mean, something is enough or isn't enough. But really the question is, what does that question even mean? What do you mean by, enough for what?
You mean
right?
Do you
And
mean like enough to get into heaven, or is that a really?
that sort of thing, that kind of like transactional, like stamp your ticket type thinking is really not Orthodox thinking.
Yeah.
Now, that to be clear, like, I mean, at its most basic, do I personally believe that like when you die, it's just over and you're a lump of meat in the ground? No, absolutely not. I mean, we're still in Pascha right now, so we believe in the resurrection of the body, the physical body, and we believe in resting in the bosom of Abraham in the meantime. So, I mean, the
what's that
Orthodox
like?
iconography is, well, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Wait, you and
so
just to be clear, you said resting in the what of Abraham?
the bosom of Abraham, you rest. You're with the saints, the cloud of witnesses, and the through the ages. But you're waiting, right? This is the thing. Like, this is the difference, right? Is that there's the idea that sort of you die and it's like up or down. That kind of theology is not Orthodox theology.
Oh, we
like-
have been talking a lot about heaven and hell, so I was curious.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So, waiting for the second coming is what happens from an Orthodox standpoint. Or for an Orthodox belief, like we believe that when you die, you wait, and you wait for the second coming, and that's the resurrection. So this is what happens.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so what
Yeah,
happens?
it's good, right?
What happens after the resurrection?
But what we know is very little about the details. I mean, I can't say. I mean, the bodies are. We believe like the actual physical body is resurrected, but again, like the science of this is not something that I can get into because we don't have it. We don't have the data.
I demand you make experiments.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, one of the things we have been talking about is how it doesn't make any sense to try to apply like worldly concepts to
Correct.
to the afterlife at all.
Correct.
And I'm just curious because I know you converted as an adult.
Yes.
Did you have a concept of heaven and hell when you were growing up?
I mean, I think, and this is me tooting my own horn, but I feel like I was sensible enough to realize that I didn't, like, to know that I didn't have that I couldn't formulate any concept I formulated would be, cartoonish.
Yeah.
And silly, because it's not. It's the sort of thing that I could fathom, then it probably isn't heaven or hell.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you thought that the concept of an afterlife helped with the fear of death. Does it help soothe that? Is it a comforting thing? Does it comfort you?
Does it comfort? I mean, to be comforted, I think I'd require a little bit of like discomfort. You know what I mean? The comfort sort of requires like something to. I hate to be. I don't want to be that way, like tautological, or dodgy. But I think that if you start off really afraid of dying, and you've got nothing to go on, and then you look around and say, "Oh, here's a concept." That means that sort of that assuages that fear a little bit. I could see then how that would be a comforting thing. But I mean, in our country, like, how could you possibly go through your life with no, like, how could you live that? Like, how could you possibly get far like into consciousness without being bombarded? Like, everybody was so like religion obsessed.
That's so true.
Yeah, and I think that's why like what we've been talking about a lot, just because and it is very tricky. But like my experience with like thinking about the afterlife has basically been dictated almost entirely by fear.
Yeah, up or down.
And it was very much used as a threat.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, the audacity.
For real.
Like, yeah, so I very much appreciate like this perspective that it isn't so much about up or down.
Well, it's not punitive. That's the thing. Is it's not punitive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about up or down. It's about close or far.
Mm-hmm.
For us.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a much more realistic, like humane way of thinking of it. Honestly, I say humane, like it's in terms of when you say humane, I think you mean the best that humanity has to offer, right? You don't mean humane as in like the worst.
Yeah. So you're just waiting, and when you die, you'll just wait in line to get close to God, kind of like a celebrity meet and greet.
I would say that is a totally. I would call that a horrible metaphor.
I mean, I knew it was going to be a perfect metaphor I was saying it.
I would say that could not be more untrue.
Yeah,
That's not it.
I think you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board with that one. But we're all just,
No,
trying.
I'm writing this down. I'm keeping it.
But you know what's funny is that, like, that's how I was talked to about heaven. Like, that it was like something like a celebrity meet and greet. They're like, it's gonna be great. You're gonna get to meet God. And I'm like, but isn't everybody else sort of gonna want to meet God too? And nobody really was much into explaining stuff like that. And particularly when, like, I was experiencing a lot of, like, the literal translations of, like, the streets of gold and stuff. It just brings up a lot of stupid questions. And, like, I really like the way you phrased it earlier. Cartoonish.
Yeah.
Cartoonish questions.
Cartoonish.
Yeah, logic.
But that's
is
all we've
out,
got,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's what?
Like the limitations of language and limitations of the physical world. Like, it always gives us these sort of hints.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see how things like physical laws work, and these give us hints, and we see ourselves, right, created in the image and likeness of God, and we see the good things there, and so we learn a lot about God this way. And then, of course, we have the historical reality and of the incarnation, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking completely as an Orthodox here, to be crystal clear.
Oh, sure.
And I think I should say one more thing, which is that, and I assume that you knew this was going to become like about Orthodox Christianity when you call it.
We counted on it.
We only
But-
hoped.
But with Orthodox Christianity, like coming from a different, like a Western sort of Christianity, like being a Protestant or a Roman Catholic or anything like that, is you really, and this is what I told my wife when she first came, is I said, look, the only way to do this right is to try and just forget everything that you've ever known about whatever version of Christianity you've ever known and just start over.
Nice.
That's the only way it's going to work, because I really believe it's a different religion. That is not like, that's not a, that sometimes that rubs people the wrong way.
I got, yeah.
When I say, like, I meet a Protestant or something and I say, like, we just have a different religion and it's fine. But I think that really is a more sensible way to think of it, because it also makes you a lot less likely to say a bunch of like mean things about someone. Because, like, I would never like say a bunch of mean things about Islam.
Yeah.
Or like about Hinduism or Judaism. I would never do that. That would just be that'd be an awful thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
And I try and feel the same way about Protestants and Catholics and just anybody who's not an Orthodox Christian at all.
Yeah.
I would say, I try to think of it as a different religion, because if we sort of disagree, and I'm making air quotes or dick fingers as they're known, around that, like, differences or disagreements.
Yeah.
Anyway, you see what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I'm so rambling about
you're
that.
fine.
But
I think it was very important to call you about this topic, because me and Sandy have both different points of view. She grew up with the fundamental Christian way of thought. She's grown into a more
not that
way of thought,
yes,
and
not that.
And then me, I'm more of the cartoonish vibe, because I learned a lot from my Disney movies growing up.
Right.
Bambi's mother is in heaven. Just
Well, Bambi's mother is in a heaven of
for deer.
A very animated Disney heaven, if you want to call it that. But anyway, and so we would really appreciate you giving us your point of view, which is a more studied, and it's very interesting, to be honest. And
well, and it's all like I always appreciate a view of the afterlife that is kind, and, like you said, not punitive, which is great. And I think our listeners love learning new stuff. I know I do.
Yeah, I think that your demographic definitely loves to learn. There's no question.
You know what? Our listeners are smart people, and they enjoy more than just dick jokes.
Debatable.
I should tell you. So, by the way, this is unrelated.
Oh.
But I was listening to the show regularly. Every time it came out, I listened to the show at work. But the press moved, and so I'm in a cubicle now. I don't have an office of my own anymore.
Oh.
So I absolutely 100% cannot listen to the show over speakers.
We're gonna send you some headphones.
I would love it. I will listen.
Yeah, you have a very important job. You should not. I would not recommend. This would be
Can you imagine?
We do say not safe for work
Yeah.
in the description.
Don't play on your speakers at work. But I'm so glad you listened to it. Okay, well, we are gonna let you go, and
All right.
thank you again so much
My
for your
pleasure. My great pleasure.
perspective, and also for dealing with the bad metaphors as we all try to come to an understanding of each other's beliefs and perspectives. So, not heaven orthodoxy, not a meet and greet line to meet
To
a
meet a
Backstreet
celebrity?
Boy. Yeah.
Aw. No.
A celebrity meet and greet. Yeah, I think that I can. I mean, I can't speak for all Orthodox, but I feel pretty. I think this is theologically sound to say no, not a celebrity meet.
Yes.
Not a celebrity meet.
Well, that's very good to know. I appreciate your time, Zach, and hopefully we'll catch you again at another chess tournament in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to it.
All right. Bye.
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 Hey guys, thank you for listening to yet another episode of Crudimentary Questions.
Yes, and thank you to our good friend Zach. He is remarkably learned and brilliant, and I respect his beliefs, and I just love it. I
Me
just
too.
love listening to him talk about things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
The bosom of Abraham. I'm like, whoa.
And you know, the funny thing is, I've delved a tiny bit into Greek Orthodoxy, and I didn't know about the bosom of Abraham. But so I was like, I think I maybe get in context, but I am going to look that up because it sounds great.
Yeah, it does. And I just, I loved having this really serious adult conversation with you.
So adult.
And now we're going to have Red Lobster, right?
Yeah.
We're
well,
going after this.
You're going to have Red Lobster. I'm going to have cheddar biscuits and cry because I don't believe in a heaven where you can eat fish. Ugh, it's so dumb.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sandy.
It's okay.
Maybe you'll get your wish in the afterlife.
Maybe there's that'd be really sweet of the good Lord to
Or-
be like, yeah, you can come in anyway.
Or you'll be reincarnated to someone who's allergic to cheddar biscuits.
oh my God, that's just my luck. We enjoyed delving into the tricky subject of the afterlife, and
If you were offended, we're sorry. If you were not offended,
we're sorry, man. You should have been. I said some nasty shit. Also, I do want to point out that I respect people's beliefs and everybody for their beliefs. I do not like the way that I was told about the afterlife when I was growing up. So
Yeah.
that's sort of my beef.
none of us are wrong or right because
We don't know.
We don't know.
It's
kinda
great
cool.
It's a great mystery.
It's kind of cool.
And while we contemplate the mystery, let's be Bruno and live our lives.
Just live your lives, man,
Yeah.
and listen to us talk about terrible things.
And dicks most of the time. So, I hope you have a lovely day, and we will check in with you next
next time.
time.
Next time.
Next time.
All right. We'll see ya.
Bye.